Okay, so as we've recalled that we've been studying overland trade between Asia and the Middle East, we're going to be starting and looking at a unit where we're talking about the consumer goods that were being traded between the Middle East and Asia. But before we have to do that, I want to recall that we're going to be looking at some of the trade routes that occurred. So what you have in front of you is a do now assessment where we're kind of just recapping some of the things that we have for the maps and when did these routes really start picking up in the medieval period. So you're going to have 7 minutes to go through this to answer these questions based off of the map. I'm going to go ahead and start the timer now, and then I'll circle around to make sure if you have any questions. Please feel free to make sure that you you raise your hand if you do have any questions. And let me go ahead
we have
and
7 minutes.
yes, and I'm going to start the timer now.
Okay. So we're answering these questions.
Yes.
When and how did Orleans become the
Can we do it in groups or have to be in
I want
groups?
you, because this is a pre-assessment, so we just kind of want to see what you are recalling and how you can read maps. And remember, the map, you have information on the maps, on the trade routes, on your black and white copy. The lighter routes are the overland routes, and then the darker ones are the sea routes. And you have text here that will help you with that information.
So we're looking for cities. Rangoon. And is these the ones like here in the dots?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That one, yeah.
I didn't see any doors. Okay. What's the possible distance between? Oh my God. Where's that one? And Formos. Ginzu. Fujiku. Ginzu. Oh. Oh. N-H-R. Holy moly.
Now remember, you're looking
this
at.
is at 400 miles. Okay.
So remember how to.
Okay.
And remember, you have your mile key, your indication there. So and we're just looking for an approximate for that one.
Do you want the in the ocean routes?
Mhm.
I'm following all of these routes.
Well, you want to follow the most direct route, so not all of them always
Go
win.
to here.
Right,
Okay,
they don't
yes, I
necessarily.
don't want to go down here.
So if you notice, you have that one. You want to look at the closest approximate distance.
Okay, how many stops do we need? Okay, so they will need one.
Yeah, you have a question over here? Okay. Okay, as you can see, like you just want to look on the routes that have the number where it's the most direct route.
Oh, can we cheat now?
No cheating. We're going to go over these together.
Okay. This. I can do some more, huh? 3 minutes.
We can draw in a map, right?
So textiles,
Spices and ceramic.
ceramic, paper making, gunpowder, compasses.
Okay, so and show me 2,000. No?
Did you just guess there?
Yeah. Well, I did the little finger. See, this is 400 miles, so I did this.
Oh, see, but what was it was asking?
Oh, not land.
But that's fine. But, you know, you just gotta make sure that you're...
Wait a minute, so it went like this? They went like this then.
And you want to take the most direct.
Oh. Shoot. I'm gonna guess. Oh, what? No.
Are you gonna collect these or
I
just
just
for
guessed.
us?
Yes, I'm gonna collect them. We're gonna go over them, and then we have an opportunity to kind of see what, how well we're remembering, just like kind of some map. Because when our activity later, we're gonna be doing some more work with looking and tracing trade routes.
We need a ruler.
I'm gonna do this
Jan.
Okay.
Oh. That sounds like a ship.
All right. So I've picked called 3 names that we can kind of go over some of these responses. And so for number 1, Sonia, what did you come up with about when and how did overland sea commerce increase between Middle East and China?
Our land and sea commerce grew after the Islamic conquest of the Middle East.
Exactly. And what year was that taking place?
The year
We can see it right here.
100 BC.
It was actually in the 600s AD.
I think 600 BC.
Yeah, so that's when, and then that was how, was when the Islamic empires became, and they increased the trade in this area between China and the Middle East. So that's some of the things that we have to look at, because when we have a map like this where it has text and the visuals of the map, we have to look at both. Now, Maria,
Uh-huh.
I see number 2. This one was asking you to just simply identify the merchant cities that identified.
Do you have to mention all of them?
You don't have to mention what did you come up with as the number? What did you count?
Oh, I counted only 5. But there
5.
were more than
Okay.
that.
Do you guys have who had a different response?
6. I have.
You had 6.
I have. I don't know about 6 because Basra is kind of in the same place. I would say 6 also.
Okay. All right. 6. And did you come up with the same one as well?
6.
6. Well, if we look at those, so if we're looking at the 6 that connected the Indian Ocean trade and the overland Silk Road, we had
One.
Guangzhou, Rangoon, Calcutta, Dubai, Hormuz, Basra, and then we also have to consider Antioch, and
Istanbul?
Alexandria, and Abihad. So that we got about 9, because we were just specifically asking overland trade routes. It wasn't specifying, and it was saying sea routes. So that's really what we're looking at, close reading, right? So if we got 6, that's going to be partial credit, obviously, but this is just to kind of see where we're at, right?
I only looked at this side of the map. I forgot the other.
Yeah, no, and that's sometimes we have to kind of look at. Now, Julita,
Yes.
what did you come up with the approximate miles between Guangzhou and Hormuz? Now, approximate means that we're just getting our best guesstimate based off of the scale here.
I think that's 6,000.
Yes, that was definitely what I came up with. It was about 6,000, I would say 400 miles. So that was an excellent job of using scaling there. And what about stops?
I count. At first I did 6, and then I count 5 because I changed the route.
Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at the most direct route, we're looking at 1, because it clearly stops here. And then if you skip this one altogether, it's going to stop 2, 3, and then 4. And then that's going to get you to Hormuz. So that's what we're looking at as far as like the most direct route as far as the stops are concerned. And we talked about the goods and religious ideas. Now, who would like to share some of the goods that moved their way from China to the West? Spices, right? What else? Ceramics. What specific types do we know that were specifically coming from China? What's the most famous?
Gunpowder.
Well, gunpowder is an item. Thank you for calling out that one. But what type of ceramic is Chinese most known for? And we have them as a name even today. We call it.
I can't.
Well, but what do we call you in your dining room if you put it in a
China.
China? So it's porcelain.
Yes.
That's what comes from that area. And obviously the road was the silk route, so silk made their way.
Paper making.
Paper making is another one. So we have some of the goods that we have today obviously came from China, and it's been very much impactful on our global scale. And then some religious ideas that moved from, between these trade routes were, Maria, you wanted to volunteer for that one?
Islam,
Okay.
Christianity, and Judaism.
And Judaism, right? So you're thinking about the major 3. One of the other ones that's not mentioned in there.
Buddhism.
Thank you. Buddhism was moving its way from India to China. All right. Now as we go into the rest of our lesson, we're going to be able to kind of like recap on how this exchange, it wasn't just from west to east, but it did, or east to west, it did move back and forth. And we'll look at some of those items that kind of went through. So this was just getting us ready to get us primed, activating prior knowledge, and just kind of see where you're all at as far as your map abilities to read maps and everything. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the lesson.